In a time of famine, when the land was dry and hope was fading, there lived a woman named Naomi. She had a husband and 2 sons, but hunger drove them away from their home in Bethlehem to a foreign land called Moab. At first, it seemed like survival, a new beginning, but sometimes the hardest storms don't come all at once. In Moab, Naomi's husband died. She was left alone with her 2 sons. Years passed, and her sons married Moabite women Orpah and Ruth. For a moment, it felt like life was rebuilding. But then, tragedy struck again. Both of Naomi's sons died in a land far from home. Naomi was left with nothing. No husband, no sons, no future. Only silence and grief. When Naomi heard that the famine in Bethlehem had ended, she decided to return home. But the journey back would not be easy. She turned to her daughters-in-law and said, "Go back to your families. May you find new husbands and new lives." Orpah wept, and eventually she left. But Ruth held on. Ruth looked into Naomi's eyes and made a promise that would echo through generations. "Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." It was more than loyalty. It was love. It was sacrifice. It was faith. So the 2 women, widowed, weary, and uncertain, walked back to Bethlehem together. When they arrived, the town was stirred. "Is this Naomi?" the people asked. But Naomi replied, "Do not call me Naomi. Call me Mara, for the Almighty has made my life bitter." To survive, Ruth went out to gather leftover grain from the fields. It was hard work under the sun, with no guarantee of tomorrow. But sometimes God is working, even in the smallest moments. The field Ruth entered belonged to a man named Boaz, a kind man, a man of honor. Boaz noticed Ruth. He saw her kindness, her loyalty to Naomi, her quiet strength. He told his workers, "Leave extra grain for her, protect her, and make sure she has enough." Day after day, Ruth returned with food, and slowly Naomi's bitterness began to soften. Naomi saw something more, a chance, a turning point. She guided Ruth to approach Boaz not just as a worker, but as family. In time, Boaz chose to redeem them. He married Ruth, and what once was empty began to overflow again. Naomi held a child in her arms, a grandson, a new beginning, a restored joy. This child would become the grandfather of a king, and from that line would come something even greater. But it all began with a woman who lost everything, and a young widow who refused to leave her side, because sometimes God writes his greatest stories through the people who choose to stay. Outro soft, reflective tone. And so, from loss came love, from emptiness came new life. Naomi thought her story had ended in sorrow, but God was only beginning a greater chapter. Through Ruth's unwavering loyalty and a simple act of kindness, everything changed. This story reminds us that even in our darkest moments, we are never truly alone. That sometimes the people who choose to stay become the very reason we rise again. And maybe, just maybe, your story isn't over yet either. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Rabbit's Foot Tales for more stories of faith, courage, and hope. Until the next story, stay kind, stay faithful, and never let go of hope.